I recently shared a video in which I suggested that Jesus and the Buddha and Lao Tzu and Rumi and Ramana Maharshi all arrived at the same conclusion, that they all experienced the same thing. Now, many people in the comments agreed with this and liked it and resonated with what I was saying. But also a lot of people didn't, and they disagreed. They said that their way of understanding what these people said was the right way and what I was saying was the wrong way. People suggesting that, of course, they can't be saying the same thing because, look at this contradiction between this text and this text. But what I'm saying, it doesn't come from just analysing text and seeing the pattern from the words, because the words are not really what we're talking about. And that's the problem, because what we're talking about is beyond words. It is ineffable. It cannot be described using words or symbols. And that is why when you have these amazing spiritual teachers, these awakened people throughout history who have had this realization, when they try to put it into words, then they sometimes seem to contradict because you cannot put it into words. So that's why sometimes it is better to not say anything. And that's funny coming from me, who has built a YouTube channel dedicated to talking about this thing, or these things, these experiences. But I guess we can talk about it for the enjoyment of talking about it. We have this experience of a divine nature of reality, a shared consciousness, the experience of there only really being one awareness, the awareness behind my eyes being exactly the same as the awareness behind your eyes. That is what I'm saying these people have realized. And again, the words that I just said won't even fully capture the essence, the nature, the truth of reality, because it is beyond words. But these words can be pointers towards the truth, towards the ultimate reality. That's why they say that the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. The Bible is not the moon. The Quran is not the moon. The Upanishads are not the moon. But they're all pointing at the moon, the ultimate truth of reality. So when I hear people talking about these guides, these pointers, as if they are the truth, I do understand where they're coming from, because I used to be a materialist, an atheist. I didn't think there was anything other than what can be measured with science. I didn't think there was anything beyond this physical reality that we perceive. That was until I had an experience of ego death, of complete dissolution of self, leaving behind pure consciousness or awareness, and the recognition that what I was experiencing there was the truth of reality. And it's impossible to put into words. When I say I had the experience, the I, in terms of the ego, the self, wasn't even there. So you couldn't even describe it as an individual having an experience. So it was direct experience that changed my mind or opened my eyes to the truth of reality. There will be no way of convincing somebody that this is true unless they have the experience. And the experience is open to anybody. It's not limited to particularly special people in history. You don't have to be some kind of sage or guru in order to have this experience. And it can come about in many different ways. You could have, an instant preview of this with psychedelics, or you can meditate for years and arrive at the very same conclusion. Some people have this experience in moments of grief and trauma. Some people have near-death experiences and experience this. But many people throughout history. So another thing was that on that previous video, I talked about 5 people, 5 spiritual teachers throughout history across the world. And there were lots of comments saying, oh, you forgot this person, you forgot this person. Plato, Muhammad, Plotinus. If I were to include every single person who had this experience, then the list would be endless, because it is not limited to a particularly small group of people. And no matter how many differences that you can find between traditions and cultures, there are some very stark similarities. So one being this falling away of the self and the realization of something deeper. But another common thread is compassion. In every single tradition, you will find some version of the golden rule. So love your neighbor as yourself. Treat others as you want to be treated. This keeps appearing. Love is the common essence that runs through all of it. And why treat others as yourself? Because they are, deep down, you. I know it can be hard to grasp, the idea that we are sharing one consciousness. But once you've had the experience of it, then it seems to make more sense. The idea that this viewpoint that we're having, like my perspective and your perspective, that makes us appear to be separate individuals, are just finite perspectives of the infinite. So yes, it appears that we are having individual, separate experiences, that we are standing separately in the world, but we are actually one process. Everything is arising together. And the thing that allows us to have this experience is awareness, and that is fundamental. So look at what has actually happened here. These people that I've talked about in that video, the Buddha, Jesus, Rumi, Ramana Maharshi, they have had an awakening experience. They have seen the true nature of reality. They have tried to describe their experience using the words and the culture that they have, which sometimes leads it to be to sound like the culture that they're in. So Jesus, for example, talking in language that would be relatable to the Jewish population, for example. That's why Jesus uses the term the Father, whereas Lao Tzu uses the term the Tao. Like, they are talking about their experience in a way that makes sense to the people of the time. And then because they have clearly seen something, then people will gravitate towards them, and then eventually with time, institutions build up around these people and around the words that they have said. And then people apply far too much weight to the words without really understanding the experience beneath them. So the best thing to do is to see the words as pointers and look inwards. That's why Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you. And that's why in the Upanishads it says, the Atman is Brahman, the self is ultimate reality. So instead of getting too lost in the words and the differences between the words, just look inwards. Take a moment. Slow the breathing. Pay attention to everything that's going on. And just rest in open awareness. If you're going to find the truth of reality, that is where you'll find it. I'm sure many of you have had some kind of awakening experience, something that changed the way you see the world, something that opened your eyes to there being something that connects us, something that we share fundamentally in the nature of our being. I would love to hear your experience. If you've had some kind of experience like that, please share it in the comments. Also, I share videos like this every week, exploring these kinds of ideas, looking at different philosophies and religions and science that all point towards this same idea. So if you like exploring these kinds of topics, then please subscribe. If you want to continue straight away, then watch this video next.